Hi friends, I'm Diane. I'm 59 years old. I'm postmenopausal and I am on a GLP-1 medication. One of the things I've learned since starting a GLP-1 medication back in November of 2022 is that I really don't know what a typical serving size looks like. Prior to taking a GLP-1, when my husband and I would go out for dinner, I would always clean my plate. Now I end up taking most of the meal home with me, and that usually ends up being an additional 2 to 3 servings besides the one I had at the restaurant. Even when cooking at home, it was very easy to fill my plate and not realize how much I was actually eating. And I think this is typical for most people, especially Americans. Taking a GLP-1 really showed me how much I was overeating. Now that I've been getting more into meal prepping, I have been thinking about portion sizes. I decided to do some research, and what I found was pretty surprising. That research led me to a scholarly journal called Obesity. I found an article that was published in 2012 titled Chef's Opinions of Restaurant Portion Sizes. I will go ahead and link the article down in the description box if you're interested in reading it for yourself. In terms of how this research was conducted, the researchers sent out 600 surveys to chefs, and they received just over 400 responses that they deemed usable in order to conduct their analysis. So this data is actually self-reported information from the chefs themselves. These surveys were analyzed by the researchers, and that is the data that I will be discussing. After analyzing all of these surveys, the researchers found that the average restaurant serves portions that are 2 to 3 times larger than recommended portion sizes. Meals that are 2 to 3 times larger can translate to 1,000 to 1,500 calories for a single meal. The guidelines for a balanced portion are normally around 700 calories or less. Overall, 76% of the chefs reported serving what they considered regular portion sizes, and less than 20% responded that they thought that they were serving large or extra large portions. Now, the researchers broke down the responses from the chefs into individual meal components. For example, they asked the chefs, how much penne pasta would you serve in a typical meal in your restaurant? 27% of the chefs reported serving about 4 ounces of pasta in one of their meals. 32% reported serving 6 ounces, and 18% reported serving 8 ounces of penne pasta. Overall, 90% of the respondents reported serving sizes that were larger than the USDA recommended portion size of 1 ounce. The researchers also asked about strip steak. 48% reported serving 12-ounce steaks. 28% reported serving 8-ounce steaks, which they considered typical in their restaurant. 83% of the respondents reported serving sizes that were greater than the 5.5-ounce government recommendation. Even vegetables are served in larger portions, with 38% of the chefs reporting 3 ounces of vegetables and 31% reported serving 4 ounces. Now, typically the USDA recommendation for a serving size is a half a cup of vegetables, or about 2 to 3 ounces. 40% of the chefs reported serving a larger quantity than the recommended portion size. Something that typically isn't discussed is the size of the plate that this food is served on. 38% of the chefs reported using a plate that was 9.25 to 11 inches in diameter, and 33% noted that they typically used a plate that was 11.25 to 13 inches in diameter. Bigger plates means more food on the plate. So it's easy to see how our expectation about serving sizes gets skewed. Therefore, I decided to conduct my own experiment. I'm going to do a what I eat in a day, but everything I eat is going to be within the USDA's recommended portion size for fresh food. Now, I'm going to be using both processed and fresh food because that's typically how we all eat. In the case of the processed food, I am going to be using the suggested serving size indicated on the package. So will I meet my protein and fiber goals for the day? I have no idea. What's interesting to me is that everyone has different nutrition goals, but the serving sizes are standard across the board. So it's interesting to see how that's going to play out. Let's head to my kitchen and see what I'm having for breakfast. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to have breakfast. I do want to preface this by saying I'm generally not a breakfast person. Usually I have for breakfast just a pre-made protein shake, and that's all I really need. But for the purposes of this video, I'm actually going to have something for breakfast and something a little more substantial. So what I decided on is I am going to have some protein Cheerios, and this is the strawberry flavor. Serving size for this is 1 cup or 37 grams, and it's 150 calories, 2 grams of fiber, and 8 grams of protein. I'm going to pair that with the Aldi dupe for Fairlife milk, and a serving size of that is 1 cup, and I think that has about 14 grams of protein and like 140 calories. And to just bulk it out a little bit more, I'm going to have fresh strawberries. I had some in the fridge, so I figured that would be a good combination to add in there. A serving of strawberries is approximately 144 grams, so I cut that up. And I want to also show you the bowl I'm going to be using. Now this bowl is approximately 8.5 inches in diameter, and from top to bottom is about 2 inches. It's a very like shallow, wide bowl. So that's what I'm going to be eating the cereal in. So let me go ahead and get the cereal in the bowl. Okay, so here is the bowl of cereal. It's approximately 1 cup. And to that I'm going to add the 1 cup of milk. And I'm going to add my strawberries. So as you can see, that dish is pretty full now. It actually looks like a much bigger serving than I was expecting, I have to be honest. So I will calculate the macros on this and I'll put that on the screen for you. So this is my breakfast. So I will see you again for lunch. Okay, it's time for lunch. Surprisingly, the cereal kept me pretty full. Like I said, I'm not usually somebody who eats breakfast. You know, that was kind of unusual for me. And I definitely rarely, if ever, eat cereal. But yeah, still kind of full from that, but I'm going to go ahead and make lunch. I am doing a snack plate. I just kind of grabbed a bunch of different things that I had in the refrigerator. I'll show you the plate that I'm going to be using. This plate is 10 inches in diameter. It's also almost as old as I am. These are my mom's dishes. They're on their last legs, but I'm still using them. So this is what I'm going to use to fill up the plate. One of the things that I'm going to put in it is this buffalo style chicken dip from Aldi. Serving size on this is 2 tablespoons and it's 80 calories and 4 grams of protein. I'm going to do a serving of these Dots home style Parmesan garlic seasoned pretzels. A serving is 1 ounce, 28 grams, or about 16 pieces, and it's 140 calories and 2 grams of protein. I'm also cooking up some shrimp. I'm just cooking the shrimp in a spritz of olive oil and then some seasoning. I have this is actually my favorite seasoning. It's the Weber roasted garlic and herb. I put this on everything and it's delicious. I put this on mashed potatoes. Oh my gosh, so good. So I'm gonna do that, and then I have, sorry, my cats have decided that this is the very moment they're going to start playing and talking. I'm also going to add some fruit. I still have strawberries left over that I really need to use up before they go bad. So I have a serving of that. I have a serving of snap peas and a serving of carrots. And once I have the plate assembled, I will show you everything that's on it. Okay, so this plate is actually pretty full. This is the buffalo chicken dip. This is the shrimp I cooked, strawberries, snap peas, carrots, and the Dots pretzels. And that pretty much takes up the whole plate. I will put the macros on the screen for you to see what this is. This is not a super high protein lunch, but it should be really filling with all of the veg and the strawberries. Okay, one point I did want to make over the course of this, my goal today was not to hit all my, necessarily to hit all my macros. I'm usually very good about that, but I was more interested in this video to show you portion sizes than to actually do the macros. I will show you what I ended up having for the course of the day, but my goal today wasn't necessarily to hit my macros. If I hit them, great. If I don't, I'm not going to freak out about it. It's one day. Consistency is more important than perfection. And I am just working on, you know, like I said, this is going to be sort of an odd day for me in terms of eating. So I am not going to beat myself up if I do not hit all of my macros for the day. So I'm going to go enjoy my lunch, and then I have a ton of things to do around the house. We are about to get a blizzard, and I have to go out and fill the bird feeders and do some laundry and clean up the yard a bit in anticipation of the way they were talking this morning, 2 to 3 feet of snow, which is unusual for us. We usually do not get those huge snow amounts, but we're about to get walloped according to all the weather reports. So I gotta go do all that. This lunch is gonna fuel me to do that. So I will see you later for dinner. Okay, so it's dinner time, and I decided I was going to make some pasta for dinner, partially because the study that I cited earlier in the video talks about penne pasta and a normal serving size versus what a restaurant would serve. Now, in the study, they noted that the serving size was 1 ounce. I have a box of Barilla rotini pasta. I don't have any penne pasta. And on the nutritional label, it says a serving size is 2 ounces. Let's see if you can see that. I'll show you that. There you go. I'm going to do 2 ounces because that's what this serving size says. I'm not using protein pasta. I'm just using regular pasta for this. I'm also going to be using, I do have my own sauce in the freezer, but I don't want to defrost it and all that other stuff. So I'm just using a traditional tomato sauce, and a serving for this is 1/2 cup. See that? So I'm going to make 2 ounces of rotini and use a 1/2 cup of sauce. Now that's going to only yield me about 9 grams of protein between the two. So I'm going to, I've made the executive decision to add some rotisserie chicken in with it when it's done. And a serving size of that is 3 ounces. So I'm going to put 3 ounces of that, and then I'm also going to put some cheese. Okay, what I decided to do is I'm going to make 2 dishes of pasta. This is 2 ounces of dry rotini, and this is 6 ounces of dry rotini. Now in the study, they talked about, I think the most prevalent serving size from the chefs that were, that filled out these questionnaires was 6 ounces. So that's what I'm going to use. So this would be typically about a restaurant serving size. This is the recommended size. Now you can see there's quite a big difference. So I'm going to cook both of these up in separate pots. I'm going to give this one to Bob. I'm sure he will have no problem eating that. And this is what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. One thing I wanted to mention that I don't think is really talked about is we talk about these serving sizes, but when we're talking about nutrition and personal, you know, each of our own personal needs, like our personal protein needs or personal fiber needs or carbs or whatever, that varies by person because everyone is different But when it comes to these serving sizes, it's standard across the board. Someone who's 250 pounds versus somebody who's like 125 pounds, their nutritional needs are different. But we're kind of pigeonholing these serving sizes across the board. So I'm not sure what that means. It was just something that I thought about, and I just thought I'd bring it up. If you have any thoughts on it, share them down in the comments, because, you know, I just find this stuff kind of interesting. Okay, the pasta is cooked. I added half a cup of sauce. That was the recommended serving in this dish, and this has the 2 ounces of pasta. This is 6 ounces of pasta, and I added a cup of sauce. You can really see the difference. And again, this is the serving size that's on the package. This is a typical serving size that you would get in most restaurants. So you can really see the disparity here. Now, I know if I eat that, I'm going to be hungry. So I decided I'm going to add things to it. I have 3 ounces of rotisserie chicken, so I'm going to add that. Just going to stir that in with the pasta. If you hear noise going on in the background, it's my cats. They're fighting / playing right now. I just want to get some more protein in this because I know it's not going to be filling enough for me. Okay. And then I'm also going to add a serving of shredded Parmesan cheese, which I believe is 28 grams. So we'll add that. That's 28 grams of Parmesan, or 1 ounce of Parmesan. You can see after I've added the chicken and the cheese, it's still not as big a serving as a typical serving of just straight pasta in a restaurant. Okay, I'm gonna go eat my pasta. After dinner, I usually like to have a little sweet treat. A lot of times I have the sugar-free Jell-O chocolate pudding. When I do that, I make it with the Fairlife dupe milk, so that way it gives me a little extra protein. And I usually have 2 servings of that, not the 1 serving on the package. I usually, when I have that at night, it keeps me full all night and into the next morning, but I'm not gonna have that tonight. I'll be back and I'll show you what I'm gonna have as my little treat tonight. For my sweet treat tonight, I'm gonna have some of this True Fruit strawberry, chocolate covered strawberries. Now the package says serving size is 1 ounce, or about 2 to 3 pieces, 28 grams. Let me show you. What it says. Okay, so I weighed it out. That's a serving size. 2 pieces of strawberry. That I know is not going to fill me up or be satisfying tonight. The chocolate pudding would be. This will not, but to keep up with the challenge, this will be my sweet treat for the evening. So that was my full day of eating, just eating portion sizes. I hope you found this video interesting and entertaining. If you did, I would greatly appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I have actually been at about 40 subscribers for quite a while now, and I'd like to increase my subscriber base. I'd like to grow my community a bit, so I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video to anybody you think would be interested in seeing something like this. Again, I will link the study from the journal Obesity where I gathered all of the data for the restaurant servings. I'll put that in the description box. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment box. I respond to every comment. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. I will talk to you again soon. Thanks so much. Take care.
little bit of loving, just a little bit the real.